Well, see, my father, he kept disappearing and reappearing. For years that went on. And suddenly, one day it stopped. He stayed at home for a while, just stayed in the house, never went outside, just sat in the chair, staring. Then he started going these long walks. He'd walk all day, he'd walk all night. He'd walk across the field in the dark, and I remember watching him from my bedroom window. He'd disappear in the dark with his overcoat on. But one night I asked if I could go with him. And he took me, and I just remember it being plowed, and I sunk into the ground in powder, and my dirt came over the top of my shoes and weighed me down. And I wanted to stop and empty them out, but he kept going. He kept going straight into the field, and I didn't want to lose him in the dark, so I kept going as best as I could. We didn't say a word that whole trip. We didn't say a word. It was completely silent. We had these owls, these white owls, kept swooping down out of nowhere, hunting for jackrabbits, diving right past our heads, then disappearing. And we just kept walking silent like that for miles until we got to town. I could see the drive-in movie way off in the distance. That was the first thing I saw. Just square patches of color shifting. As we got closer, I began to recognize some vague faces. I saw Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy speaking with his mouth, speaking without words. He's speaking to a woman in a red dress. Then we stopped at a liquor store, and he made me wait outside in the parking lot and while he got a beer. And there was all these Mexican migrant workers standing around with a pickup truck with mud all over the tires, drinking and laughing. And I remember being jealous of them, and I didn't know why. And then I remember seeing an old man in the liquor store. And as he was paying for the bottle, I remember feeling sorry for him, and I didn't know why. It was weird. Then what happened was, as soon as he walked out, the workers stopped laughing, and they just stared at us. And they stared at us, and as we walked away. And we walked right to town, past the donut shop, past the miniature golf station, past the Chevron station. And he opened up the bottle and offered it to me first. Before he took a drink of it, he offered it to me first, and I took a drink of it and handed it back to him. And we drank the whole thing dry, and we never said a word the whole time. And finally, we reached this little white house with a red awning on the far side of town. I'll never forget the red awning because it flapped in the night breeze, and the porch light made it glow. It was a hot night desert breeze, and the air smelled like a new cut of alfalfa. We walked right up to the house porch, and he rang the doorbell, and I remember getting real nervous because I wasn't expecting to visit anybody. I thought we were just out for a walk. And then this woman comes to the door. This real pretty woman with red hair, and she throws herself into his arms, and he starts crying. He just breaks down right there in front of me. She's kissing him all over and holding him real tight, and he's just crying like a baby. And then through the doorway behind them both, I see this girl. She just appears. She's just standing there, staring at me, and I'm staring back at her. And we can't take our eyes off each other. It was like we knew each other from somewhere, but we couldn't place where. But the second we saw each other, that very second, we knew we never stopped being in love.